JD. There's been reports. Is he under pressure? Is he not under pressure? Does he have 80 minutes to save his job? Does he not have 80 minutes to save his job? Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole situation, mate?
Well, there's a lot of stories and news and speculation flying around at the moment, isn't there? The one constant thing that's been here for the entire season, Kempy, has been the pressure on the coach, right? The pressure on the club, and them having to perform. They've only won the one match all year, being against the Bulldogs. So, look, until there's some movement, within the club, or there's some action taken, then what do you believe? Do you believe that this is Jason Dimitro's last opportunity this weekend to keep his job? And it's hard to jump the gun, right? Because their CEO has come out and said, look, it's untrue. He's got the backing of the club, and so you'd like to believe that. Although we've seen administrators come out and back their coach 1 week, and then 1 week is a long time in rugby league. They have a loss this weekend, and it could all change. But also, too, like we were having conversations last year around Adam O'Brien at the Knights. And then look what happened there. They went on their, 10 or 11 consecutive wins, went deep into the finals, and now he got an extension, didn't he?
Yep, 3 years.
He had a contract extension.
Yeah. 3 years, yep.
So, look, is that going to happen at the Rabbitohs? You just don't know. You just don't know, because I think no one's seen that sort of on the radar. No one forecasted what happened at Newcastle last year with that incredible run, which, gave Adam O'Brien another opportunity to extend his contract as coach. So you just don't know. But as far as where Souths are at right now, they are in a massive hole.
Alex, could you get the quote from Solly sent through? Solly, so apologies.
Blake Solly.
Solly. Look, I understand him, publicly backing the coach, but it'd be utter madness if they aren't considering his job and whether it's tenable or not at the moment, because this isn't just this season. So give or take a game, out of the last 20 games, they've only won 5 games.
Yes.
And also, those 5 games were essentially, outside of the Warriors, against bottom 4 sides, or close to bottom 4 sides. Then you go and look at the one game that they won this year, very close to losing, and the Bulldogs, who fight gallantly, are bottom tier side at the moment. I think the difference between, and I'm not saying that you were sitting here going, this is exactly the same to Newcastle. I think the little bit of difference is, I don't think Adam O'Brien was going into this season with such one of the most historic fall-offs we've ever seen. But also, I think with Rabbitohs, that squad should not be in this position. Now, should they be, put it this way, even if they were 1-5 to start the season, but they had played similar to like the Warriors when they were 0-2 to start the year, or even the Broncos, who are actually only 2 from 5. And so it's not actually about, obviously the results has something to say. It's about the way they're playing that is the biggest concern for me, and suggests to me that, okay, you look at the Bulldogs, for example. Yes, the roster isn't as strong as the Rabbitohs, but you can tell that Bulldogs roster is playing for Ciraldo. Yeah. I personally look at this Rabbitohs roster, and to me, it doesn't look like they're playing for Dimitrio.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, Kempy, but what's playing for your coach? Do you play for your coach? In some ways you do, but what's wrong with these players going, even if they disagree with some of the things that Jason Dimitrio, some of his philosophies or ideas as coach, what's stopping them from going out and playing for their fans or for their members or for their own pride? I'm looking at some of the performances of a few of these players at South, particularly some of the senior players, and it's not up to scratch, mate. It really isn't. And that's where I look at it. And sometimes I scratch my head, right, and think, when they say, the coach has lost the locker room and they're just, not up and about. And that is a skill in itself, right? That is a skill in itself, for a coach to, have everyone up and about and happy and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're unhappy with the coach, you still have a decision on the weekend to put your jersey on, to put your boots on and go out there and play to your capabilities. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. even if you disagree with what the coach, does during the week and has to say and all that sort of stuff, you can still go out there and have a go. It's like you just said, they have a better on paper. They have a much stronger team than say the Bulldogs, right? But the Bulldogs, why they got so close to them was that they're playing with effort. You can't coach effort, mate. That doesn't come from the coach. That comes from individuals. Some tactics and technical things and game plan and all that sort of stuff. Sure, that falls on the coach's responsibilities, or on the most part, right? Along with some of your key players. But effort doesn't come from the coach. That comes from individuals wanting to do it.
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely with you. And both can be true, right? The environment can be a poor environment that is being set up by the coaching staff and the administration. But at the same time, when you cross that line, you have a responsibility. And I agree with you that the effort is up to the player, absolutely. Yeah. But I feel like a step further. The effort's up to the senior players, because they're the ones
that's right,
that dictate what the environment is and what the standards are. And you can speak to this way more than I can, Smithy. But when I was at the Broncos, you're right. It wasn't the coach that set the standards. It was me walking into training, feeling a bit sooky, feeling a bit sorry for myself. And it was Justin Hodges or Corey Parker or Darren Lockyer going, what are you sooking for? Like, what's wrong with you? It wasn't actually the coach who did that, but you can speak more to that with your...
Yeah, well, you know what, like, I think the coach, like, he sits at the top, right? So he sets sort of, a bit of the mood and sort of the environment that you're in, and they got to work hard. I've got no doubt that Jason Demetriou goes in and works hard at his job. I've got no doubt about that. But it falls solely on individuals to go out and just have a go, and look like you want to be there and look like you want to make a difference. Like, just watching some of these Rabbitohs players, when I watch them play, I'm just like, that's not you. That's nowhere near your own capabilities. And one of those players, which, right or wrong, I probably think he's a fair bit hard done by, was Damien Cook. Like, I thought he put in a lot of effort last week. He come up with 45 tackles. He had 7 runs, only had the 1 miss. Things may not be going right around the middle of the ruck for them, but, like, how much help is he getting? He's not getting a whole lot of opportunity. Like, he's a guy that needs quick play of the balls and momentum, and he uses his speed, right? That's his main weapon. Who's helping him? Have his runs and put defensive lines on the back foot and have his little darting runs from dummy half and punching holes and all that sort of stuff. The team that's doing that was the Warriors.
So well.
And have a look at the game that Wade Egan had.
Yeah.
He absolutely carved them up. So, I think that, I don't know whether it's a bit of a panic button that's been pushed, to drop Cookie and a couple of the other players, but I think as individuals, surely they realise that they're playing well below their own standards. Surely they realise that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the tough thing is that, unfortunately, it's their key players. Like, the concern is that it's their key players that are playing poorly at the moment with poor form, and they don't. When you look across the board, you could even say, even though Jackie Whiten and Cam Murray and even Cookie to an extent have been playing relatively well, they're not playing the best they've ever played. So there's really no one in that whole squad that is playing the best they've played, which is very rare, because, like, every year, it doesn't matter how good you're going, there's always a few shining lights.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about the Latrell situation as well. I just think with the Latrell situation, it's all about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Smithy, but I think that with him, he needs to set aside the fact that he's a superstar, even though I'm not sure he doesn't sit and walk around thinking he's a superstar. Yeah. And he needs to go back to that mindset of an 18-year-old Latrell Mitchell that loved his footy and was ready to rip and tear for his mates. And I think the next few weeks he needs to show that to his teammates. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that, over my time in the NRL, watching guys when they're at their best, is they're out there having fun. They're enjoying being out there. They're enjoying competing. They actually enjoy being uncomfortable during games as well. Like, things may not be running smoothly, but they're happy with that. They're happy to be there, and they're happy to challenge themselves and compete. It just doesn't look like he's enjoying it. And that's not just Latrell. I think that's you look across the board at the moment with all those Rabbitohs players, there's got to be stuff going on for them just to, like, mate, playing football's fun. Training's hard.
Yeah.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Training's hard. You're in the grind every day. You get one full day off a week, but you're training from early morning to late afternoon, 6 days a week. But the game's the fun part, boys. Get a smile on your face and get out there and just have a crack, like competing against the opposition and competing with yourself. That should be the enjoyment of the week. Forget about the training. Like, training's done. Get out there and have fun and just, get into it. It just when you're looking at the Rabbits at the moment, you watch them and they look like, well, here I got the ball. No, you have it. You do something. And then you do something. And it turns into just a game of footy where, like, and that's what it looks like. Do they actually care about the result? Do they care about the way they're playing? I might be way off the mark, but that's watching them play. To me, that's what it looks like. Is they don't really want to be there, and they don't want to compete and make a difference.
In regards to senior players, because I think that's a really important discussion at the Rabbitohs at the moment. Is, I guess, what advice? And I know that you're not in the environment, so you don't know what the day-to-day thing is for that. But I guess sometimes as a senior player, you've got to be very selfless, and you've got to be like, there's certain parts of the game that may not be what I love to do, but I need to do them to set a standard. And for me personally, in my opinion, I'm not seeing that from their senior players. I kind of feel like their senior players they're trying all the things they love to do. Like, for example, Trell's a good example. Really good ball player on the weekend. We all know that. Incredible ball player. But I kind of felt like every time he got the ball, he was just looking to pass. And I'm like, I feel like Trell as a senior player, and look, I can't speak as I've never been a senior player, but I would assume it would be, mate, we need you to have 15 of the toughest carries you can have and set the tone for the boys rather than be an incredible ball player. But am I way off the mark with this, Smithy? As a senior player, what's your thoughts on this, George?
Yeah, well, what you spoke about there, Campy, what that is, that's a team first attitude, right? You just got to put your own personal goals or your views on how you want to play that day and put the team first before everything, particularly when you're in a position like this where your team is struggling across the board. There's probably been a couple of guys that you could say, look, they've had a crack all year. Like Cam Murray's one of them. Like, he's been trying his backside off all game. And you know what? Has he been playing to a standard that we're used to? No, he hasn't. But he's playing in an environment where I don't think he really has the opportunity to, but he's playing his backside off. But every single player in that footy side at the moment needs to put their own personal sort of feelings aside and what they want to get out of the weekend and go, right, what does my team need me to do? And just forget about all these fancy plays and all these different things that you want to do. What they need to do is get back to the very basic parts of our game, the fundamentals of running hard, holding the ball, and then when the opposition have the footy, make your tackles, boys. That's all they got to do. And things will turn around. Like, it may take a little bit, but things will turn around. Like, I was very lucky where I played in the footy side for a long time where we didn't go through many of these lulls, right? The worst was 2012 where we lost 5 in a row. And it was frustrating, mate. It was extremely frustrating because, training wasn't that bad as far as our standards went. Like, we weren't training poorly, but things weren't happening in the game for us. And so what we did, we sat down and said, listen, the only way we're going to change this is through sticking to our processes of training and working hard. And it finally, it turned around for us eventually. It took a little bit, but the one thing that needs to happen is that every single player that takes the field for the Rabbitohs this weekend, they have to give their best effort that they've given all season. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
And again, mate, as I said, effort, it's something that can't be coached. So it's not on Demetrio this weekend.
Yeah. It's a responsibility of the players to at least then you can. The thing is that if you go out and give everything you've got, and you come up short, then you can start looking at tactics and everything like that. And I think as well with the Rabbitohs, you want to say to them, boys, you need to trust that you have such a good side on paper that can do such incredible things. That the big plays, they will come after hard work. It's like the age-old big forward that could offload. And how many times you'd see he'd kind of get in this patch of form where he'd get a few offloads would work, and then he would always be thinking offload first and not run hard. And then all of a sudden the offloads go to the ground all the time. And then you say to the bloke, mate, we need 10 hard straight runs. And then all of a sudden the offloads come.
Yep. What was your thoughts? I don't know if we can get that audio, Alex. Might have to happen after the break. But what were your thoughts on Gus Gould's comments on Latrell?
Does he enjoy it or not?
Yeah. Well, just questioning whether what's his desire to play footy at the moment.
I mean, the thing is that being Latrell Mitchell, it's an experience that very few people can understand it.
Are you really in love with this game? Do you love the hard work? Do you love the discipline? Do you love your teammates? Do you love your club? Do you love the game? Or is it just, I'll do it because I'm good at it, but I'll do it my own way? I mean, if someone actually sat him down and said, if you had a chance to walk away, would you go? You reckon he would? I reckon he would.
There it is on Channel 9, the great Gus Gould. A fair question to ask a guy, Latrell Mitchell. And, I know that he's an extremely polarising player and absolutely this year his form hasn't been good, and absolutely, the two instances on the weekend were not good. But this is, being Latrell Mitchell, the pressure of that, any human being, regardless of how much you're paid for it, it can get to you eventually. What are your thoughts on the situation, Smith?
Yeah, well, of course it can, mate. Of course it can. And no one will ever know the sort of the weight on his shoulders unless you're in his shoes, right? No matter who you are. So, he's one of the best players in our game. He's one of the most talked about, if not the most talked about player in our game right now. So the spotlight is already on him. He's played for two glamour clubs of the competition in the Roosters and the Rabbits, and they're not going good. So, of course, the spotlight's going to be on him, as well as, he's had a few sort of indiscretions, would you call them, this year, with the suspension just on the weekend. That interview where he had several expletives post game a few weeks back. So the heat is on him, and I think it's a fair question or a fair topic that Gus Gould raised was that has anyone actually sat down with Latrell, because it doesn't knowing what he's capable of doing on a footy field and seeing him say 4-5 seasons ago playing at the level he was playing at when he was at the top of his game. He won premierships with the Roosters. He was winning State of Origin series with the Blues and dominating that arena. It doesn't look. He just doesn't look like the same person. And we've all seen. He posts things online and all that sort of stuff of, when he gets away with his family and his friends, on his property and all this sort of stuff. And he enjoys that time away from football. So I think it's a fair, question that Gus raises is, where is he at the moment? Because even if he's not enjoying it and he's not in love with the game right now, his natural ability keeps him in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
If you understand what I say.
Absolutely.
He's got a great natural ability just to be able to compete in that competition, with his size and his strength and his speed and and some other parts of the game that he brings to his position that he plays. But just from his input and just his body language on the field at the moment, it just doesn't look like he's having fun.
Yeah, it sounds so cliche. But, I'd argue any working environment where you're not happy, regardless of whose fault it is or whether you're being grateful or whatever it is, you're just not going to perform at the best of your ability. It's just really that simple. And with Latrell, I just look at it and I go, the way I see it is this: Latrell's form is just one of the problems grouped in with a lot of problems. Now, if you had that same situation, let's say he wasn't enjoying footy, but he was at a club that was going really well, then you could he could kind of lean on other people to go, can I find that again? Or let me lean into the environment that is quite happy. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's like the perfect storm for him where he's got all these headlines about stuff outside of rugby league. And, he hasn't done himself any favours, the swearing in the interview and the brain explosions. It would be a lot, mate. It would be so much. And look, I'm not sitting here saying no other player has ever gone through that. Like, all the biggest games, like yourself, you would have gone through it. And I'm sure it's not a happy place to be in. I don't think people really appreciate how intense that pressure can be when there's headlines about you that you really have no control over.
Yeah. And going on the shake-up, like with the footy side this weekend, I was, Damien Cook, dropped, Marmazoulis comes in. I probably would have gone further, and we're just talking off air about this. Like, I'd even throw Cody Walker to half. What do you reckon?
Mate, I would have gone.
Like, if this is, like, if you're Demetrio and you've been told, mate, you've got 80 minutes, then you need your best players stepping up, and you need to find a way to get them more involved than what they're showing at the moment. So I'd have thrown Cody Walker the 7 jersey, Jack White in 6, and just say, boys, get your hands on the football and be busy.
Mate, I absolutely agree. I would have put Walker at 7, and I would have probably put Walker on notice. Said, mate, it doesn't matter about the results. I don't need 3 or 4 try assists from you. I just need you to be busy, busy, busy. Every time you get your hands on the ball, just front foot footy. Just get involved in the game. Jackie Whiten, he's already committed, but I'd be saying to him, mate, you don't need to do anything special. Run hard, tackle hard. Jai Gray be putting at fullback. If he went well for 3 weeks, I'd be saying to Trell, listen, Trell, we know at your best you're a fullback, one of the best in the game. But right now, clearly things aren't working. Let's put you at centre. Get you just enjoying the game again. We'll get you good ball. You can do all the fun stuff. You don't have to worry about directing a team around and all the tougher stuff that comes with fullback. Then let's reassess in 4 weeks. If you're happier and everything's going well, maybe Jai is struggling or not as good as you or whatever it is. Maybe we put Jai at 6 and we put Whiten back out in the centres. But that's probably the direction I would have headed.
If they get beaten and we find out Monday morning that Jason Demetrio is gone, we're thinking Ben Horby takes over, right, as interim. Who's next? Because there's been a few names tossed up. Wayne Bennett, Longneck, old Longneck, going back to the Burrow.
Skeletor.
Sam Burgess, but he's got another season to run with Warrington.
This would be my plan. This would be my plan, Smithy. Yeah. I'd be reaching out to Skeletor, aka Wayne Bennett, and I'd be saying, mate, we need you for basically 24 months, maybe even 12 months. Because Wayne Bennett probably has the only man with enough clout to go in there and potentially either quell or move on the people that had issues with Burgess. I'd be speaking to Burgess about coming back in 2026.
Yes.
But I would also, just to be clear, although what Burgess seemed to be saying seems like is correct, he probably didn't handle it the best he could have handled it. And I'd be saying to Burgess as well, mate, there probably needs a bit of kumbaya, a bit of bridges. Bridges need to be mended.
Yes.
That's the direction I'd be going. What would you be doing?
Well, Wayne Bennett's certainly not the worst option. He's coached there before. He's had some pretty good success at the footy club. He had the team up and about there for a little bit. So, and he's off contract. He's finished with the Dolphins this year. So he's essentially a free agent. There's been talk about him going to a club after the Dolphins and being sort of like head of football or sort of overseeing the coaching. There's no way he'll go to a footy club and be 2IC.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Not a hope. Not a hope.
Yeah.
He'll be the big dog or he won't be doing it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, I don't know, how old is he? 87 or something? How old is he? No, he's not that old. I'm joking. No.
I thought he was 113.
He's 107.
I thought he was 113 years old.
I think, what is he, 75, something like that.
Yeah.
Mate, he lives and breathes footy. You know that more than I do. Like, you were coached by him. So I think that, he would be welcomed back with open arms by all the Bunnies faithful. There's been some other sort of left field, though, names tossed up. Michael Maguire. I can't see New South Wales Rugby League allowing him to do that, though. Now that he's just taken over as the Blues coach, can't see that happening. Craig Bellamy.
Bellyache, your mate.
Craig Bellamy. Now, the Storm's chairman, Matt Tripp, he got on the front foot straight away and he sort of had a bit of a laugh and said, "Oh, really? Is that the news? Is it? Well, good luck to him." Trying to get him up there. But as far as I'm concerned, Craig Bellamy is contracted sort of for another few seasons with Melbourne, whether he's head coach or not. And knowing the type of person that Craig is, like he won't be breaking that contract. So, personal opinion as well, I don't see him going up there. But his name was tossed about.
Well, now we're back to speak about the great Para Eels club that is in a bit of a pickle. Has the premiership window closed? That is the question going around the grounds at the moment. Para have rung the changes after a 41-8 loss to the Raiders on Sunday night. Sivo, Blaze Talangi. Now that one, that's not as much of a drop because he is a rookie, so I wouldn't consider that. That's just a rookie that maybe he's a little bit soon. He can come back in. Widemu, Greg have all been replaced. Morgan Harper is back in with Bailey Simonson moving to the wing. DeJean Arce will play his first game of the year wearing 6. Cartwright named, and Eels fans will be praying he plays. What are your thoughts on the situation at the Eels, Smithy?
Well, I think they needed the shake-up, didn't they? After they copped the drumming on the weekend against the Raiders, 41 points to 8.
Wow.
Now, I know they were without their half, Mitch Moses, but they got to get their heads around that, Kempy, real quick, because he's going to be out for, another 6 weeks?
Yep.
I think they spoke about when he did break that foot, it was going to be about an 8-week injury, so he's only been out for 2, so they've got to get their head around not playing with him and find a way to be able to get some good footy going, because they were not in it at all the other day. They were not in it. And, you got to give credit where credit's due. Like Canberra played really well. It was down there in Canberra as well, so they're always a little bit harder to play when they're at home. But, yeah, they were never, ever in the match. Never in the match. So, Brad Arthur's, he's given a real shake-up, the squad, and he's looking for some responses from his players.
Yeah, as a fan, and look, I know it's hard, as a player that you lose a key player, and as much as you want to say, oh, yeah, we're not thinking about it, and, we've moved on, and when he's back, he's back. But I guess as a fan, or even if I was in a coaching role, my messaging would be, okay, we've lost Mitch Moses. And I say this all the time on the show, but guys, is Mitch Moses, he's a good defender, but is he such a good defender that we should be leaking 41 points? No, he's not. So we're kidding ourselves if we even consider going, oh, well, we were missing Mitch Moses. Now, if we're losing games 14-6 or 20-6 even, you can kind of go, okay, is Mitch Moses worth 20 points? Yeah, he kind of is. That's where you could, again, you could even say that's making excuses. But that's the one thing if I'm a coach, defensively, is that when they're out, at least we've got to be strong defensively. And that's where it's the most concerning thing with the Eels is that, the Raiders are a side that a lot of us picked to be the biggest sliders this year. And they are playing tough, gritty footy that isn't that flashy. It's pretty much just win the ruck and then get the ball into some key players' hands and see what you can do. And it absolutely tore the Raiders apart.
Yeah. Well, they conceded 7 tries, mate.
Oof.
Para. So that's just, at that level, it's just not good enough, particularly when you're a footy side that should be competing for finals footy, if not possibly contending the premiership as well. And so, like you said, it's not, footy is it's a 17-man game. It's not just a one-man band. Like it's Mitch Moses doesn't go out there and make every tackle for the team when he's fit. They need to be a lot better. And again, that's why Brad's made the mass changes which he's made, and he's looking for a response. I think they will. I think they'll respond quite well this week. Whether that results in a victory, I'm not too sure. We'll preview that later in the show. But there's plenty going on at Para. There always seems to be, doesn't it?
Yeah,
every year. They're up, they're down, and they have a few changes, and things happen, and yeah, it'd be frustrating as a fan.
Is there, Smithy, do you have concerns, and you're getting put on the spot here, but I personally have concerns with their squad management for quite a while now. And the reason I say that is they got unlucky with Hodgson getting injured and having to medically retire, I think, or retire. But, at the moment, they've got Lussick and Hands as their 9. I wouldn't, is Lussick, he's played pretty good the first few weeks, but, he struggled with his service on the weekend. And then you look at the squad balance of, okay, so if Lussick and Hands are your starting 9s, then obviously, if you're in the business of premierships, depth probably isn't that great in the 9 position. Then also you look at that 7 position and you go, surely, okay, look at the Broncos, for example. We lose Renault, and, I apologise, I know I'm a Broncos fan, guys, but and we had Jock Madden, who is a very serviceable, very solid 7. And I just look at the Eels and I go, who's managing the roster where they literally don't have another 7 ready to go? Now, they've got a young guy called Sanders, I think, but he's clearly not ready. So is their roster management been a bit an issue since the grand final?
Well, mate, it's hard, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like if teams lock away some good young kids, there's only so many going around. There's only so many good ones in all positions, but in particular those key positions like your 9s and your 7s. There's only so many really, really good ones getting around, and once they're snapped up, they're snapped up. Like you might get a rookie come through, have a bit of a breakout year, and then he's off contract at that club that he's been at since, say, 16, 17. Then he might land a gig somewhere else. But if you're locked in long term, then, it's a struggle. You got to work with what you've got. So that may be the situation that Para find themselves in at the moment. Like, because if you look through the competition, there are some really good 7s running around at the moment, but I'd say there's far less elite 9s playing the game right now.
Yeah. Oh, mate,
right
absolutely.
now. Like off the top of my head, you sort of, you're thinking Harry Grant, you're thinking Appy. Obviously Cookie's been involved in State of Origin. Reece Robson, if you look to last year.
Egan this year's form.
I'd say Wade Egan is starting to climb himself into that sort of group as well. But outside of that, there's probably it's just a small step down to those next group of players. So what you're talking about, maybe 3 or 4 elite 9s in the comp at the moment. The rest are still sort of making their way towards the top as, you sort of high standard number 9s or trying to get, crack into that elite group.
See, I more mean like, okay, Dylan Brown at this stage in his career is a clear 6. He's an incredible 6.
Oh,
really
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't have anyone in their roster that can do a job at 7, that concerns me. And then you look at the 9 jersey that still is very unsure as to who is the long term. I don't know. I just kind of feel like squad balance wise, you probably like, okay, look at the Warriors, for example. Their squad balance is absolutely incredible. You take out Metcalf, you put in Tamade Martin. And if Sean Johnson went down, it's Tamade Martin, it's Harris Tavita. So, yeah, I don't know. Squad balance for me with the Eels is something that I think is a bit lacking since the grand final. They did get raided. They did get poached quite a bit.
I surprisingly pulled up really well from the groin after the game. And, I think for me, just mentally, just trying to get through those demons. The body's going to probably be 70 to 80% most games, and I just got to be mentally strong enough to play and get through it. And it was a good stepping stone from Thursday night, and it's going to show I'm not going to be great 100% each and every week, but at times I'm going to be pretty good, and then sometimes I'm going to be crap. So for me, just getting my head right and being able to do whatever I can, and just the little things for the team.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run. It's time for the good oil, thanks to the Cobram Estate, Australia's most awarded extra virgin olive oil, grown, harvested, and first cold pressed in northern Victoria.
That was interesting, listening to Cam Munster there.
That was super interesting.
Yeah, talking about his injury, having to deal with some mental demons, Kempy, and actually the thing I took out of that most was how he spoke about this season not being at 100%. He's just going to have to deal with not being at 100%. He might be 70% one week, he might be 80% one week, and just trying to stay mentally strong throughout this season and be able to get up for those games. So interesting to hear that from Cam Munster, not only for a Melbourne Storm point of view, but also Queensland. Sort of coming around State of Origin time when it starts to get into the middle of the season. It's grinding footy. That's when the bodies start to fatigue and break down, and wondering whether he'll be at his very best. I'm sure that's that's music to the ears of the New South Welshmen tuning in. But interesting. It was great to see him back on the park. He missed the first, obviously 4 rounds with that groin issue that he's battling with. But great to see him back partnering Jerome Hughes. The first time actually that those 4, Harry Grant, Jerome Hughes, Munster and Pappenhausen have played together since, I think it was round 18, 2022. So, yeah, been a long time.
It was really exciting to see as a footy fan, the fruits of the machine that Bellyache was trying to build with that spine, if you know what I'm saying. We hadn't seen them play together for so long. I think a lot of us forgot what the whole system and game plan was that the Storm was going for with those, that key signing of Grant, Hughes, Munster and Pappy. And if one of them's missing, obviously it's still really good, but it's not great. With all of them together, geez, like sometimes in the ruck with the Broncos, it was kind of like, this is impossible to defend.
Yeah, well, mate, there's no doubt that it's been a long time and they've really missed that combination of those 4. That's their key position players, right? So it's been a battle through injuries to all 4 players. They've spent some time off the field, mostly Pappenhausen, Hughes and now Munster. Harry Grant's been there for the most part, but yeah, it was great to see all 4 getting back together. You can only assume that combination is going to grow and get stronger if they can stay on the park. And look, they looked a little bit rusty at times with their connection on the footy field and their timing and whatnot. But I think it's great for the Storm in particular that those 4 are back, and hopefully they get the big man back soon as well. Nelson Asofa-Solomona, he's played a couple of weeks in reserve grade. I think he's named on the extended bench for the Storm this week. Don't know whether he'll play in this match. Maybe another week away, but they're close to their strongest lineup. But look, it was good to see Munster back out there. Fingers crossed that he can stay on the paddock, because the words coming from his own mouth that he's going to have to battle this injury all season.
Yeah, that's really interesting that we're yet to kind of get a diagnosis as to what the problem
It actually is.
And to almost openly be saying this year I essentially won't be at 100%, or at least at points in the year I won't be at 100%. Whereas nearly every injury that you ever see on a footy field, there is a plan back to 100%. So it's a space that we've got to watch as Queensland fans, but also as Storm fans, because you have to assume if they are to make a premiership push, Munster will be a part of that. But what are your thoughts on the way they played on the weekend, mate?
Well, I thought they did a good job. I was fascinated to watch Craig Bellamy though. Can be like post game. I don't know how many people watched this match, but to watch him after the game and sitting in the coach's box, he actually sat there for like several minutes afterwards with, I don't know how to explain it. Actually, it was sort of like just a deadpan look on his face, wasn't it? And I can only assume he was sitting there thinking to himself like, okay, well, we got the 2 points. I'm really happy with that. But like, what did I just watch?
I mean,
what did I just watch?
Yeah. You're absolutely right, because the argument you could make is this, is like, okay, the attack was so good that some of those tries, usually no matter how well you defend, you're not going to be able to stop them. But at the same time, it's like, well, if I say that, then I'm excusing, maybe an error here or there. Very hard game to kind of, I guess, review with your players, because there was so much good in it, but then also there was bad in it as well.
Well, that's right, yeah. And I think it's a good way to sum up Melbourne's season, is that like out of the victories that they've had, like there's been plenty of effort. They've played some good football, but it's been off the back of mostly effort. You know what I mean? And they've done what they've had to do to get the wins. He would have been sitting there thinking, righto, we got the 2 points, that's great. We maintain our spot in the top 4, but we conceded 32 points, Kempy.
Yeah.
They conceded 32. And that's off the back of like a couple of howlers for the Broncos. Howlers.
Yeah.
Jesse Arthur's in the corner.
Oh, don't say it.
Just had to catch and score it.
Why?
And I think the other one that I still have in the back of my mind was Katoni Staggs at dummy half. Yeah, you make a bit of a break.
Yeah.
He got to dummy half and just overthought it, I reckon. He just had a million things going on in his mind.
Yeah.
All he had to do was pass it off the ground to, I think, was it Ezra Mam just standing there?
Billy Walters, I think. Was
Billy Walters. Like, just there was a gaping hole right beside the ruck, and if he passes it off the ground, they score. So, couple of tries went begging, and possibly a chance to win the match. But look, Storm survived, and they're doing a lot of good things at the moment. But I think Craig's sort of sitting back, thinking, I think we can be going better than what we are at the moment.
Well, you know what? Your match-winning try summed up exactly what you're talking about, because it was literally Wishart going, I'm going to run as hard as I possibly can at a front rower.
Two front rowers.
Two front rowers, essentially. And I'm just going to want to score more than they want to stop me to score.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything pretty. It wasn't out the back and kicking. It was genuinely effort.
Yeah, well, that was the one really that sort of put him in front and pretty much wrapped it up for him. I know they got that consolation one up at the end with that little volley of Xavier Coates, and Hughes scored. But yeah, that was just Tyron Wishart saying, "Look, give me the ball. I'm just going to run over the top of guys that are bigger than me, and I'm going to score it." So yeah, I think he said as much in his press conference at the end of the game. Craig Bellamy, he said, "Look, that was such a strange game to watch. Really happy with the result, and we got 2 points, but yeah, we got a fair bit to work on."
Now, there is reports that Schuster has been given permission to negotiate with other clubs. Now, may I remind Manly fans that he re-signed, I think last year, until 2027. Now, the concern about that re-signing was the fact that, A, he wasn't even free to negotiate with other clubs, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he was contracted 2025. And also at that time, I'd say he was struggling to make the first grade side, I'm pretty sure. So that's the report. He's been, free to negotiate, permission to negotiate with other clubs. Now, with this, we don't know whether it's 100% true, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and 1 + 1 = 2. It does sound like if you've got a guy on 700 to 800K playing reserve grade, usually the events that follow are, mate, you can negotiate with someone else. Smithy, what are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Oh, it's strange, isn't it? It's confusing, because there's a lot of talk about Josh Schuster's future at Manly and whether he was going to be the right fit there and whether they'd sign him. They signed him on a long-term deal and reportedly on huge money. Like, we're hearing reports of 800,000.
Gets up to 800K. Up to
800,000 by the end of his term of his contract. Now, that's a lot of money for a guy that hasn't played a whole heap of first grade.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same amount of money that guys have played, 150, 200 games and are consistent, regular first graders on the same amount of money. So how does that change so quickly? Like, because that's a commitment, right? That's a commitment by the club to that player to say, yeah, look, we're serious about your future being at our football club, and we're keen to pay you huge money to keep you here. And then less than 12 months later, turn around and say, oh, actually, no, we've changed our mind. The biggest thing for Manly now is who's going to pick up that 800,000? Who's going to pick that up?
No one.
Oh, well.
My opinion, I don't think anyone will.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah. Not at that rate. So you would assume that they're still going to have to pay a fair chunk of that money that he's on. So a club might approach Manly and say, look, we'll take him, but we're only going to pay 500.
Mate.
So there's another 300 that comes out of your cap for a player that's playing at a different organisation. It's just incredible how it's all panned out.
Look, yeah, to be honest, at the stage of where he's at and all the drama that's kind of surrounded him for the last couple of years, I honestly think if I was to value him in regards to getting him to my club now, I'd be paying minimum for him. Minimum.
It has to. He hasn't played enough footy, mate.
And also, with all the, we know he's got the talent. So the question is how much do you want it? Well, show us how much you want it. Come to this club on minimum.
Yeah.
Take a bit of a pay cut. I will say, and look, I want to be real clear. Schuster, he has responsibility to play really well. He's on a big wicket. He's been given heaps and heaps of opportunity to play good footy. But you have to look at the administration and you have to question, because everyone's going to be like Manly fans. First, initially, it'll be like, oh, okay, this is happening. If he digs his heels in and says, I'm seeing this contract out unless I can get paid the full amount, Manly fans are going to be filthy at him. They're going to be filthy at Schuster. They're not going to be filthy at the club. They're going to take it out on Schuster and say he's being greedy and, blah, blah, blah. But I've got to say, the handling of this by administration, in my opinion, extremely poor. Like to my understanding, he wasn't off contract until 2025, and so that's correct. And yet they re-signed him before he was even eligible to be able to negotiate with anyone else.
Yeah.
That is shocking roster management, especially in a roster that is so heavily invested in Tom Trbojevic, DCE, and Jake Trbojevic. We already know the balancing act that they all have to go through to keep those guys together, which is fine. That's of course you would keep those guys together. But then you throw in, put it this way, paying $800K for a back rower, period, even the best in the game, is pretty hectic.
Well, how many first grade games has he played since re-signing, do you think?
Since maybe 5 or 6. 10. I'll say 10.
So how do you sell someone that's not playing first grade? That, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're certainly not going to get the money you pay for them that you paid for them in, when you re-signed them for 3 years, or extended the contract for another 3 years. Like, how are you going to get money back on your investment if you're not playing them? So how do you? This is going to your point about the administration. Is how do you sign someone on a 3-year deal, which gets up around the $800,000 mark, and then don't play them first grade? He hasn't been injured that whole time, has he?
No, I mean, he's had injury like in the off season with calf, but no, he hasn't been injured. He's been playing reserve grade for a few weeks now.
Yeah. So how? And then you say, "Oh, look, happy for you to go."
Yeah.
Crazy. That's a lot of money.
So
that's a lot of money.
He's played 7 NRL games since extending in June last year.
Yeah. So June is pretty much half the season, right? So he's had 5 rounds this year and say 15 games last year. So out of 20 games, he's played 7.
And to make it worse, that's 2023. He was already contracted till 2025. So it was June 2023. Yep. He was only eligible to speak to clubs in November 2024.
Wow. What's doing?
I mean, that's a disaster. Decision by Manly administration, and look, no club's perfect. Everyone makes, but that for me is just like mind blowing.
Well, just considering the money involved, mate. Like particularly when it's with a player that, like, you wouldn't consider Schuster a regular first grader. He was in and out.
Yeah.
And let's give the guy some credit. Like, he come up with some pretty good performances.
Oh, the potential's there.
In some of those matches. Like, I think we've all seen that, he's got some great natural ability and he's got some of the best hands you'll see in any back row playing in the game. But he hasn't had those consistent performances. Yeah, wow. That's huge news.
More breaking news. Riki is out of the huge clash against the Dolphins. Also, Delois Hoita out for the season with what appears to be ACL in the injury. Broncos, jeez. It's been a rough start. They had a tough run in regards to opponent. Had some tough opponents, which is fine. You've got to play them anyway. That's neither here nor there. But then the injury toll, it is mounting. Losing Haas, losing Reynolds, losing Walsh, Piacora, Willison for a week. Now Riki as well. And then we've seen with the back row position, and it's actually something that I noted in the preseason trials, is I was a bit concerned about our depth in the back row. Hunt has actually played quite well since he's come in, but Riki out, I mean, it's getting tough for the Broncos. It's getting tough. It's really going to test. It's going to test the, if you're a premiership side, your depth needs to be the next man up and do a job. And that's going to be tested, this week for the Broncos.
Well, listen, we've just had another text. This is a good one for you, Kempy. Given the Broncos' back row stocks, I think Schuster might be a better option than TPJ if they can get him on the cheap. That's Anthony from Greystanes. What are your thoughts on that one, Kempy?
Look, I think that me personally, I wouldn't bring Schuster to the Broncos, because I think that although they may not be ready yet, some of our younger forwards, they will probably be ready within the next year or two. On top of that, when we do have everyone at full strength, guys like Piakora, guys like Riki, then obviously you've got Hunt as backup. I think that we're pretty good. Once we've got everything at full strength and we've got an extra 12 months, I think that we'll be pretty good in the forwards department. But I'm sure there are other clubs out there that potentially could look at Schuster. Tavita Pangai Jr., he's definitely not an edge player anyway. So, and also the Broncos have said, like, they've even said it. A report came out that he would need to quit boxing to even be considered.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on the Broncos at the moment, Smithy, in regards to they're 2-5, so that's a bit alarming.
Yep.
But the way they've kind of lost it, outside of the Penrith game, that's really the only blemish, hasn't been too bad. What are your thoughts on where they're at?
I think they're a little ways off last year, to be honest, Kempy. Yeah, I just think they're a little ways off. They looked that way over in in Vegas for round one, and you could forgive them for that because it's a foreign place, it's long travel, a bit going on for that whole sort of round one over in Vegas. So they got beaten by a chook side that played pretty good, 20-10. Come back, beat the Bunnies. We've spoken about the Bunnies and where they've been this year. So, that's a bit of a soft victory for them. Struggled against Panthers, but that was the night Reece Walsh fractured his cheekbone. And you could really see that they lacked a bit of potency in attack without him out the back. I don't think Renault wasn't playing that night either.
And Haas was out as well.
And Haas was out.
And Piakora as well. Piakora got injured.
And then since then, they had a strong victory against Cowboys. Cowboys were pretty ordinary themselves. And then last week, plenty of effort. Strange game. We've sort of, gone over that match with the Storm. So I guess form line is, I believe they're a ways off last year. And it hasn't helped with, some of their key personnel having injuries. I think they're they're certainly missing Reece Walsh, but I think the combo that Patrick Carrigan has with Payne Haas, I think we've just seen a little bit of a difference in their footy side with him out. Not saying that he's the key to the Broncos winning the competition. I just think those two guys, they're a great 1-2 punch. They really benefit from each other when they're both out in the paddock. They both play big minutes. They have high involvement. Paddy Carrigan, I tell you what, mate, if he's not the best forward in the game, he's a close second. The work that he punches out every week, like he's running 200 plus meters every week. He's pretty much topping the tackle count for the Broncos as well. And he's doing such good work around the middle of the field to help out their halves. It's just incredible, like the way where he's gone to this year. But having Payne Haas back is going to benefit them. I just don't know about this weekend, though. Now that Ricky's out, I'm thinking, geez, will Kevy move Carrigan to the back row? I know you're not a fan of that. I think you'd prefer Carrigan to be in the middle, but if he moves Paddy to the back row and maybe brings in, say, someone like a Hetherington to start at 13, what's that going to do to this footy side? Now, I know Wayne Bennett will have the Dolphins up. It's the Battle of Brizzy, Suncorp, Friday night. It's going to be a huge game, big crowd, end of the school holidays. There'll be 40,000 there. They have to win this one. What are they sitting at the moment? 12th.
Yeah. And so, they could be 2 from 6, which then you're starting alarm bells are ringing then.
Yeah, they got to win this one.
I got to say, just on Paddy Carrigan, what I love the most about him, and you'd have noticed this too with your career, is like there are a lot of players in the game that they're front runners, or against in certain games or situations when things are going well for them, they're amazing and they kill it and they whatever. But then they'll get into these big games and they'll be quiet. What I love about Paddy Carrigan is he gets into the big games against the best teams, and even if his team is getting absolutely pumped, he still punches out the same numbers that he would if he was in a team that's just won by 13 plus. And like, how often have you seen, Smithy, players that, they're downhill skiers that, everything's great. Yeah. And then when it goes against them, all of a sudden they don't want a bar of it. They go quiet. They don't take their hit-ups.
Yes.
And that's what I love so much. That's what makes Paddy Carrigan great for me, is that it doesn't matter the environment. He has a standard that he will not go below.
Yeah, well, and that's a sign of a great team player, right? They're the type of guys that others love playing with. Is that they know that they're going to get out there and they're going to give their all for the game, no matter the situation, no matter the opposition, no matter the venue, the location where you're playing. Like you know exactly what you're going to get out of him, and he's the type of player that makes other players around him play well.
Yeah.
So he's having another outstanding season, but without hitting the panic button just yet, they've got some challenges. The Broncos. They've got some real challenges. If they get everyone back on the paddock, fit and firing, look, they're no doubt one of the main challenges for the trophy this year. There's no doubt about that. I think everyone sort of realises that. But at the moment, they've got some real challenges. Real challenges.
Knights host the Roosters Thursday 7:50 live on SEN. Joel Kane, Kamali and Spud Carroll. Knights team news, no changes. Roosters team news. Teddy and Walker out with concussion. Manu goes to fullback. Watson partners Keary in the halves. Junior Bonga goes to the wing. Dom Young, a.k.a. Dom Yum, suspended for 2 matches. And Michael Jennings into the starting side for his 300th. How do you see this one playing out, Smithy?
This is going to be a big game for the Roosters. Big game for the Roosters. Teddy out, obviously concussion. Walker as well. Connor Watson. Geez, they've had some change-ups in the halves. Ooh. Is this the third, maybe fourth pairing they've had this year?
Yep.
In the halves already after, this is round 6. So, bit going on. And I think big change for them is obviously Dom Young coming off the wing, although he wasn't having such a great performance last week. And the Knights, they're up and about. There's no changes, as you mentioned, from that game against the Dragons. Look, I don't even know what to take from that game last week. It was played in such poor condition. It was just a slugfest. Like the rain and the water was just ridiculous. They got there in the end. I'm just loving the way that Kalen Ponga's playing at the moment. He's just unbelievable. Like, he's carrying on the performances that he finished with last year, and he's just firing. So I've got the Knights. Given they're playing at home, let's hope the conditions are a little bit better. I think they're meant to be a lot better for Newey, and I think they might just get it done. Roosters are always there. You can. It's hard to knock them, given they've got some quality players still, and a couple of big game players as well. Michael Jennings, playing his 300th, mate. Is that right?
Yeah,
300 games.
300 games. 300 games.
Yeah, he has been around for a while. What about he's just a silver fox now? Eh? Look, see the grey through the hair.
Looking old. Holy.
I can't comment. I look 40 for the most part of my career. So, but I reckon Knights too strong in this one.
Yeah, it's look, I agree with you, mate. Very hard to take much out of the game against the Dragons. What I will say, in a season that hasn't been the best for the Knights, I did like that I saw a bit of steel and grit from them. Just hanging in there, a bit of an ugly affair, but they just got the job done. Similar to the Paddy Carrigan comments, what I'm loving about this mature version of KP is that when the game isn't going his way, he is still doing everything he can to swing momentum.
Yep.
And I feel like, maybe a few years ago as a younger superstar that, you're used to things kind of going your way, and, maybe he would have taken a little bit of a backward step, whereas this year, especially this year at least, and especially, since last year and becoming captain, you can see every game for Kalen Ponga, he goes into it thinking, it is my job to change momentum. It is my job to make sure that we do everything we can to win. And I really like that mature approach from KP.
What's I just want to touch quickly on Tedesco's concussion. So what's that 7 in the last 3 seasons? Like, there's got to be some concern around Teddy and his head knocks. I'm not trying to sort of start any sort of hysteria here around his concussions and whatnot, but just want to get your thoughts around it, because it's pretty concerning. Given that was an awful incident where he went down low against Viliami Kikau, and sort of he went back and he was out cold straight away. So, but that's 7 in the last 3 years, mate.
Yeah, mate, I agree with you. Like, I'm not trying to start hysteria or whatever, but I mean, the reality is 7 concussions, and at least a few of them have been bad. Like, not just a little bit dazed and you take him off or whatever. Like, first of all, I want to just give massive the bravery shown by Tedesco. We talk about a lot of these teams that, what are you willing to do for your team and putting yourself in, out there to show them team first. Here is James Tedesco, who I think a lot of us would agree is one of the greatest fullbacks of all time, at least in the top 5.
Yep.
Had every right to go, you know what, that's kick out. I've got about 0.0001% of stopping him.
Yep.
And he had every right to basically just do a hands tackle. And you know what? A lot of us would have said that's probably smart footy, to do that. And yet he doesn't do that. He says, no, I am just as committed to this side as I was when I first started playing rugby league. He puts his body in front and basically gets knocked out, knocks himself out because he was so brave. And I just think that if you're a struggling club, that's something that can be inspiring, that he's done everything in the game. There's nothing more for this bloke to do, but he's still as committed as he was day one.
Yeah.
In regards to the head knocks, mate, I agree with you. It is very concerning. 7 in 3 years. Now, Trent Robertson, I think, was asked after the game, and he just said, I'm not going to comment on that, which is understandable because if he does, the headlines come, and he doesn't want that.
No, that's right.
But, yeah, mate, it's like, do you do more than the 11-day stand down to be sure with it? I personally would if I was the Roosters, but I'm not the one that has the job on the line. I'm not the one with all the pressure.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing you can't question the Roosters about, because they have had their issues with head knocks, right? So Kiri's had them, Jakey Friend, Woody Cordner, those 2 guys actually retired early because of it. And
Walker
and
to a degree.
Yeah, and they did. Yeah, Walker to a degree. They did look after those guys.
Absolutely, they did.
If they needed to spend more time on the field, they spent time on the field. So I don't think they're going to rush Tedesco back. Just from a point of view of, knowing the numbers around his concussions in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit concerning for him. And I'm sure, a lot of the, all the medical staff are doing what's best for James and not the footy club. But yeah, just thought I'd get your opinion on it.
Now, I'm not trying to create even more drama, but is there an argument to be made that this ridiculous shoulder charge rule for try-saving tackles?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sitting here pretending that if he could have been able to shoulder charge kick out, that he would have done something differently.
Yep.
But I do think it's an instance of put it this way, if I'm him at fullback and I'm running across like that, my preference would be to shoulder charge. Now, not shoulder charge in the typical sense, but it is to throw my body at him to try and get him over the touchline. Yeah. And so I wondered, was he out of options and he had to go low? I don't know.
Well, I think in his mind he's thinking he wants to show him the sideline, maybe go low, try and get a legs tackle and try and chop him into touch. But there's no doubt, I reckon in the back of his mind too, he knew that I can't shoulder charge here. I'm not allowed. Yeah. So the argument, you can create the argument where you say, we hear now about defenders showing duty of care to ball carriers, and that you got to bend your back and go low, and you can't be up around the head. Have a look what the result was. Yeah. James Tedesco with 115 kilo monster running down on you.
Yeah,
it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's absolutely not going to. And you've already alluded to this. I'm not sure if it was off air or on air, but for the people out there saying tackle low.
Yeah.
It's easy, just tackle low. It's it's really not.
Yeah, no, it's not, mate. So, difficult position that he was put in. He showed great commitment, but, let's hope he's doing okay and we see him back on the footy field soon and he'll be taken care of.
Now, Storm host the Bulldogs, live on SEN. Drury Forbes, one of the great names, Drury Forbes. Scott Sattler and Matt Rogers will be live on SEN. Storm team news, Tepai Moirota, I can't say that properly, joins the bench. In for Jack Haworth, who actually, I'm surprised. I thought Haworth was outstanding when he came on the field. But
played strong.
Nelson is named in the extended squad. Bulldogs team news, Critter moves to fullback, Taff out through concussion. Kiraz moves to the centre, Adokar returning to the wing. Mann is out, huge out. Salmon goes to lock, Curran back into the starting side. What do you reckon here, Smithy?
Yeah, I think the Storm. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised Jack Howarth went out as well. I thought he, for the time that he spent on the field, he was pretty strong. Big Nelson, a lot of noise around, or a bit of talk around, when he's going to be coming back to play first grade. There's even talk around, the Storm wanting to shop him around. I think Matt Tripp come out and squashed that. Said no. I've had the conversation with Nelson and said, look, we're a pretty good footy side when you're not playing, but we're a team that can compete for the premiership when you're in it. So we want you back fit and playing in first grade. He's just he hasn't had a great pre-season with the hamstring issues and not being able to run. Big fella might have put on a couple of kilos that he probably shouldn't be carrying, and he's just he's been given time in reserve grade to try and get back into good shape. Don't think he'll play this game, possibly next game for the Melbourne Storm. Look, there's a plenty of improvement for Melbourne. There's no doubt about that. We touched on it earlier. We spent a bit of time on this team, so we can push through pretty quickly. I just think they're going to be too strong at home. They got to, although they conceded 32 last week, I think we're going to see a much improved defensive effort. I don't think they would have done too much with the footy this week. Maybe a little bit of vision on the Dogs. Looked at a few areas where they want to attack when they've got the football. Most of their focus this week, though, would have been their defensive plan.
Mate, 3 home games already. Like, the Storm just get taken care of by the NRL every year, mate.
Hey, mate, get this. But, hey, I tell you what, I don't think they're overly happy about it, though.
Oh, really?
I think they've actually been given some early home matches because the AFL's been out of town.
Oh, okay.
So the NRL have said, look, we'll give you sort of, Melbourne to yourself without the AFL. So they've tried to time like that. But because they've got a fair few, a chunk of their home games all at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I think they finished with maybe 2 of their last 6.
Oh, wow.
At home, Kempy. So
you'd rather home at the end of the year.
Yeah, look, if they're not in a great position coming into that back half, like that last sort of 6 weeks or maybe 2 months of the year, they'll have some work cut out from on the road.
Yeah. Back to the captain's run, Broncos v Dolphins, Friday 8 p.m, and we don't have to do daylight savings anymore. We're all on the same page. Australia is united going forward. It's great to see.
I love the daylight savings.
I did too. It's rock.
Especially when we're working up here at Suncorp. Get home earlier.
Hey, you know what? Guess what, Smithy?
What's up?
I wake up at 6:30 now. So, you can no longer, every day I walk in this office, you call me lazy, you say, mate, you need to pull your head in. Now, I wake up early now, mate.
Oh, well done. Good on you. So your clocks didn't change then?
No, we got an extra hour. So
I know.
Apologies. Okay. I can't see your face, so I don't know whether you're joking or not.
Sorry.
Broncos versus Dolphins. Reece Walsh returns from a facial fracture at fullback. Madden replaces Reynolds. Oates to start on the wing. Mariner out with a back injury. Willison returns to the bench. Ben Takora drops out, which I was quite surprised at. I thought he was outstanding. Flegler, he has been named despite a shoulder injury. That's wow, that changes a lot if he's in. Farnworth, Kafusi out through injury. Tessie New into the centres. Bromwich into the starting side. Wallace on the bench. Milford on the bench wearing 15. What do you reckon with this one, Smithy?
Wow, that's a bit of a curly one. Anthony Milford wearing 15 off the bench. It's a shame, mate. It's a shame. Like a couple of these big contests are missing some of the big names. Herbie and Felice Kafusi. What about Felice Kafusi tearing the hamstring?
Yeah, how's that happen?
Just, mate, slow down. Well, he made the line break and he thought he was 25 again.
Yeah, just remember, mate, you're
not
butler.
35.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, he looked up and he thought, I might burn the fullback, and then thought, oh, no, where's Hammer? And then as he offloaded, he went, grabbed the left hamstring. Mate, slow down.
That'll teach you,
Slow
mate.
down. Come on.
Stick to rattling blokes with big tackles and stick to just medium pace, please.
Yep. So, big names out for both footy sides. Loving the way that the Dolphins have taken on this season so far. They're sitting atop of the ladder, mate. How good.
Yeah.
How good. And if they were to win this, I'll tell you what, they'd walk away with just a little bit of bragging rights against Big Brother, the Broncos.
Yep.
But I think the Broncos might be a bit too strong. Yeah, they got firepower all across the park. They were able to find 32 points against Melbourne. Melbourne, you would say, are one of the better defensive sides in the competition. So if they play with that similar flair and and Ezra Mam gets a few bounces like he did the other week.
Oh, mate.
Ball magnet.
Yeah, did he have a magnet in his hands?
Yeah, he may. I think they may get away with a win here. Reece Walsh, for me, big one in.
Even with Flegler in for the Dolphins?
Yeah, I still think with Flegler in, I just think Herbie's a massive loss. Massive loss. Tessie New goes into the centres. That's a big challenge for Tessie to take on some of their outside backs for the Broncos. They've got some great movers out there, mate. They're strong. They're pretty potent, close to the line. You give them opportunities, and particularly one-on-one, they finish them off most times than not. I just think, Broncos too good. Particularly, I'll go back to what I was saying before. Reece Walsh in. They've just lacked that finish, that bit of polish on the end of their movements. Like they're playing a little bit of different style over the last 3 weeks without Walsh there, where they've played a lot more direct, a lot straighter, playing through the opposition's defensive line. But I think with him back now, mate, that speed.
Yeah.
You can't, it's such a huge weapon in our game. And the way that he hits that ball on that sweeping run when he's out the back of that backline movement, he runs past 1 and 2 defenders and creates overlaps.
Yeah.
So that might be the big challenge for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's a very weird, I wouldn't say weird game for the Broncos, but I wouldn't say that if they lose this, it's disaster. But at the same time, life can be a lot easier if you get the win. It might sound obviously, Denon, obviously it's going to be easier, but 2-6, that's a tough pill to swallow. You can look for all the excuses that you want. Oh, we've been injured, key players. 2-6, there's no excuse that swallows that. Whereas, if you go in and you get the job done, all right, boys, that's when the excuses of kind of 3-6 isn't perfect, but at the same time, it's pretty good for what we've had to go through the last few weeks. So it actually is, put it this way, it's a much bigger game for the Broncos than it is for the Dolphins, in my opinion.
What's the news on Adam Reynolds and the hamstring?
Yes.
Is he just this week, or is he going to be longer, or what are we hearing?
You'd have to say, with his age, give him longer. If put it this way, if I was the Broncos, the week that he says he's right, I'd give him another week. That's usually, in my experience with hamstrings, I haven't had bad hamstrings or anything, but when I was playing, what they would usually do is they'd go, okay, the week that you feel like you're good to go with hamstrings, we'll play you the next week.
One extra.
Yeah, just because that's usually danger zone. So with Reynolds, I'm assuming they'll be safe, try to be safe with him, just because he is so crucial long term for them in this season.
It's his kicking leg too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right. So it's his right leg. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that puts a little bit more strain on him as well, doing that amount of kicking. He's doing all the general play kicking. Yeah. Long, short, bombs, grubbers, all that stuff. Then the goal kicking too. So that puts a little bit more pressure on that hamstring. So, I'm sure that they'll wait to have him back. I think they've sort of penciled him in for round 8.
Yeah.
So maybe this week, next week without him. I was a little bit surprised that Jock Madden was named there. I thought Kevy would have gone with Billy Walters in the halves.
And then you go
just started there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Smoothie at 9, and possibly Jock Madden on the bench.
Okay. So
let Walters, take the sting out of the game, play the first 20, 25, and then get the young fella out there after that and play out the match there. But, he's back Jock Madden. I've heard him talk about him before, and, he really likes the way he plays. I guess, his performance this week goes along the lines of what you've spoken about before, Kempy, about young halves coming in. Most important thing for these guys is that they kick well and they make their tackles.
Yeah. I mean, especially you look at the Broncos, mate, points are not an issue. So you don't even put that in your mind of I've got to be, perfect in attack or whatever. It's basically, kick as well as you possibly can and make your tackles and let Reece Walsh take care of the points, really. Yep. And Ezra Mam, obviously, and Selwyn Cobber, and Katoni Stack. You know what I mean? The list goes on.
Well, yeah. And mate, the threat, when you look on the other side, I think the threat for the Broncos this week comes right through the middle. I think it's Marshall King.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been playing well. He's had a great start to the season again, like he did last year. Izzy Katoa, hasn't he done well since coming. Like, he got left out of the footy side round one. They picked O'Sullivan in front of him, but he has been so good. Like, for such a young man, like he's played so well, coming in off the back of being in reserve grade round one. Like, his running ability, he's got a nice passing game. His kicking has been great too.
Yeah.
They've just you give this team a little bit of momentum and a little bit of a sniff, they can create some momentum for themselves.
For me, this game's the biggest swing game. Warriors could win 13 plus, or Manly could win 13 plus. It is a really hard game to pick. What do you reckon with this one?
Well, I don't really see it that way. I know Manly have been, sort of a hot team leading up to that loss against the Dragons, which was, they had a shocker. There's no real way to describe it other than them having a shocker. They bounced back strongly, but I think the Warriors are up and about, mate.
Okay.
I just think they are up and about. And they're just nestled over there, over the ditch, just in New Zealand, just doing their own thing, feeling confident, feeling good. Training's going well, and I think they just bounce out this weekend, like, especially with those guys back. DWZ, Kirk Capewell, experienced guys. Watene Zelezniak's a great finisher. I think Ruben Garrick's a huge out.
He's
Huge
so important
out
to that side, yeah.
Huge out for Manly, mate. Huge out. Like, he's got bigger names playing in his footy side with him. They get a lot of the headlines and a lot of the pats on the back, but he is such a good player. He's one of those guys that just he'll give you 7.5 out of 10 every week, and that's not a knock.
Yeah.
Like that. If you deliver 7.5 out of 10 every week, right, you're going to be the first picked every week.
For me, he's like a real club player, like as in, and when I say club player, I'm saying as a compliment. You don't necessarily build clubs around them, but they're the kind of guy that you point to and go, that's the attitude we need every single week.
Be like him.
Yeah, be like him. Exactly. Bring his attitude every single week. That's the kind of guy Ruben Garrick is. Like, when was the last time you watched a game and said, oh, Ruben Garrick didn't have a crack?
Yeah.
Like, it's every game.
Yep.
And also, goal kicker.
And goal kicker, mate. Yep. So he's a big out for Manly, I reckon. And I just think, Warriors on a roll at the moment, mate. They've been impressive. They've been impressive. And you think of early in the year where they lost a couple of games, like they had a lead that they should have won against the Sharks, and then they drop a game to Melbourne in Melbourne, leading by 8 with 3 to go. So. You know what I mean? Like, you consider those two matches where you look back and go, mate, boys, they should have won it.
They could be 5 for 5, genuinely.
They should have won it, mate. Yeah, they could possibly be unbeaten at this stage of the competition. They'd be the only team unbeaten. And you could probably say that about a couple of other teams as well, that they drop games that they shouldn't have. But I think this Warriors outfit, mate, they are a dead set footy side.
The only thing I think with the Manly side, they're so good in attack that when they click. And all of their key players, if they're moving, it's almost like it's some of the best attack in the competition. And so
they are.
The reason why I say it could swing either way is if they go into this game and just somehow get their defence to click, like just, like for example, when was the last time you saw a guy when was the last time you saw Fisher, Harrison, Leota get attacked the way Nathan Brown attacked them last week? Like,
you're right.
I haven't seen that. And so I just think that, okay, if they could get their defence just to click for 80 minutes, there really is we've seen the Warriors get close to scoring points and then struggle for like a 40 to 50 minute period. You look at the Knights game, they had all this possession, but the Sharks game, they had all this possession, but they just could not get that final blow. I think if they did that against the Manly Seagulls, then that's where Manly could go, put a bit of score on them. Now, don't get me wrong. Head-to-head, I'm going the Warriors, but it is a big swing game for me. It really could be anything.
Well, that's the way they have to come up with the same game plan against the Warriors, mate. Yeah. Like, they have to attack Barnett and Fanua Blake right from the start, and because what that does is that minimises the impact that Wade Egan's going to have from dummy half. The way he gets out of dummy half, plays so straight and holds up the markers and the A defenders, that gives time to Tohu Harris, right, to do his thing. He can run the ball. He can play short. He can play at the back. It gives Sean Johnson time with the football, and when he's got time with the football, like look out, Nickel Clogstad's hunting around the football. You've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck hunting around the football, and that's when you get yourself into trouble.
Mate, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and look, I'm probably wrong. Happy to be wrong.
Yes.
Sean Johnson's transition from an incredibly good ball-running half to 7 is one of the greatest transitions I've ever seen. Like, I cannot believe that. Think about this. Like, okay, he was like within an inch of winning a Dally M. He almost won a Dally M as basically didn't need his running game. Like, it was all from controlling a team and good kicking. It's honestly incredible, his transition. Like,
yeah, well, he's had to make that transition or that transformation in his game, right? Because he's getting older.
Yeah,
he's getting older, and like he's still pretty sharp. He's got good straight line speed, but he doesn't have that same zip that he once had when he was a younger fella. Like, that's just fact of life.
Yeah,
you start slowing down a little bit. So he's had to find other ways to try and get his way around the footy field and to try and have the same impact for his footy side as far as, you know, putting points on the board, creating opportunities, you know, getting other guys across the try line. But he's doing it so well. And he looks like he's having the most fun he's had in his entire career.
Yeah. It's so good to watch. I'm so happy for the Warriors. They're going this well. And, you know, we talk about being good for the game. Oh, mate, them killing it is so good for rugby league. You know, you can't put a price on it. Now, Eels versus the Cowboys. Don't forget, we're here for Chemist Warehouse. Save more money every day at Chemist Warehouse. Eels, we've already gone through people dropped for Eels. Laybutt, for the Cowboys, Laybutt suffered an ACL season-ending injury, sending our thoughts to him, poor fella. Chester comes into the centres, his only change. Huge game for both clubs. Now, Cowboys obviously got the win last week, but geez, wasn't it like, mate, he's had the opportunity to completely finish this team, and you let him back into the match.
Yeah, well, that was off the back of the Chad Townsend sin bin, and just quietly, seriously.
Oh, what are we doing?
Sin
My
bin.
God.
What are we? Did we have a crackdown on hip drops on the weekend?
Oh,
was that just the flavour of the weekend for the refs?
Yeah.
Come
seriously.
on, boys. There was one even sin bin that he didn't even touch, Victor Radley.
Oh, my God.
What a G up. Anyway.
Just quickly on that, Smithy.
Yeah, sorry, go.
What frustrates me with those decisions, it's like they're forgetting how important it is, like how much it means to a club to lose a game and how, you know, money is lost. Like, there's so much goes into it, and they just go, it doesn't matter, 10 in the bin, whatever.
Yep.
It's a big deal.
Well, Roosters were already down to 12 men, right? And then Victor gets sent to the sin bin, so they're down to 11. But they were on the charge. They were on the hunt.
Yeah.
The Dogs hadn't scored a point in the second half, and all the running was with the Roosters. Yeah. So if he stays on the field, like, you know, like hindsight, you just don't know. Like, do they keep charging and eventually win that game? Like, we won't know now. That's a massive call to send a bloke to the sin bin that didn't even touch the ball carrier.
Mate, the Roosters would have been 3 from 5. Like, it's such a different look.
Yeah, and then you see the swing in that Cowboys-Titans game where Chad Townsend made the tackle on Preston. On Campbell. Preston. Jaden Campbell. and you know, it looked awkward. It looked spectacular, but I don't think the tackle that Chad made, I don't think that made him buckle over.
Well, it was Granville that pulled him over.
That's right. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but because it looks spectacular, like the game feels like they need to do something about it. Like we need to look like we're looking after people. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in that time that it was off, they scored 2 tries.
Yeah.
Titans scored 2 tries and then it nearly fought their way back. But yeah, look, I think this is a tough one. Cows on the road, they can be a little bit rocks and diamonds on the road. I'm going to go Cowboys, though. A lot of change at para. I just think they're a completely different side without Mitch Moses. I just think they lack a little bit of direction and a little bit of composure with the football. Dylan Brown, of course, playing, not in his preferred number 6 jersey, I think takes away a little bit of his natural game. I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cowboys as well. I'm actually a little bit worried about the Eels. I look across that side. They started the year really, really well. But then the last few weeks for me, just like across the board, I don't see anyone playing close to career best footy. And there's even when they were struggling kind of last year, you'd see these moments of Gutho just incredible and Dylan Brown at times. Whereas this year, I don't know, they just look a bit flat to me after those opening couple of rounds.
Yep.
Maybe the West Tigers game just took it out of them. But I do think there might be a bit of a chance they might spiral with confidence without Mitch Moses.
Yep.
But who knows? We'll see this weekend. This weekend will tell me a lot as to where the Eels are, but I'm going Cowboys. Now, Rabbitohs take on the Sharkies. Talk about important game. Holy moly. At a core stadium, Munro onto the wing. Mamazella starts at hooker. Jai Gray debuts at fullback. Cookie has been regaled 18th man. Shaq Mitchell, Havili, Moali onto the bench. Kepi, Duncan dropped. Britton Nikota returns for pushing Talakai to the bench. If there's one thing I'd say about this game, watch Jai Gray. Watch Jai Gray. This guy, he's a small stature, but geez, he goes hard.
Yeah, no, I've actually I've heard Billy Slater talk about this young guy playing at fullback, and he said he goes really, really good. So I haven't seen much of him play. I actually haven't seen him play at all. But yeah, no, to get some raps off Billy Slater, I think that says a lot. In saying that, no, Britton Nikora back for the Sharkies only makes them a stronger side. I'm sorry, Rabbitohs fans, but I think the Sharkies get another victory, and it might put your club in a sticky situation coming into next week.
Yeah, look, I think that if I'm Fitzgibbon, I'm almost, I'm almost going with the mentality of let's kick them while they're down.
Well, you got to, mate.
Yeah.
You got to have that killer mentality.
Yeah.
Like, you can't feel sorry for other people. Like,
no.
It's not your issue.
Nah.
Right? Your focus is your club and your team and you putting yourself in the best situation. You can't afford to look at the other team and go, oh, geez, they've had a hard start to the year.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your concern.
Yeah, and I think with Fitzgibbon, it's a real test because, like, what have the Sharks lacked the last couple of years?
Yes.
It's killer instinct. It's
Yes.
finishing games. We go back 2 years ago against the Cowboys. They could have finished that off. We go back to last year against the Roosters. They could have finished that off. And so if I'm Fitzgibbon, I'm going into this game, guys, I want to see killer instinct. Like, I want you to take pleasure in making their season worse.
Yeah.
It might sound harsh.
If you do that, you know they're doing their job, eh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Imagine the journos at this game.
They're
Hey,
literally drooling, like literally drooling. Like they got headlines, like it's like
is bloke going out there?
no, yeah. Watch Nico Hines' hair just fly through the wind. Journo's heading to that game are like the Hangover. What's his name when he's going down the elevator? The Rain Man, and he's got all but instead of all the math equations, it's all just headlines that they're going to write after the Rabbitohs potentially lose. And Tigers v Dragons. Let's just get straight into it. Tigers v the Dragons. How do you see this one, Smithy?
Mate, been loving the Tigers over the past few weeks, and even listening to Benji after the game last weekend. They had a loss, and he could have easily come in and said, "Oh, look, it's been a big few weeks for us, and the boys have been up and about and all that." He said, like, really proud of the effort, but geez, we left some opportunities out there. We played pretty poorly at times, and good on him. He set high standards, and you can see that through their performances over the start of this year. Dragons, they hung in there. They tried against Newcastle, and again, going back to that match with Newey, it's hard to take a lot out of that given the conditions. But I'm going to back the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm back
on the
Tigers. Yeah, I'm on the Tigers as well. Dragons, though, they're so, they show you 10 minutes of great footy, and you're going, wow.
Yep.
Like, this is a Dragon side that, we're crazy to ever consider them playing for the wooden spoon.
Yep.
And then the next 10 minutes, you're going, oh, there's that wooden spoon I was talking about, pre-season.
Yep.
So, very hard one to gauge this game. I really like what the Tigers are doing, though. With their side that they've got currently, and with a guy like Lockie Galvin out, I just love the fact that the game looked to be over last week, and they just fought. Like, I haven't seen a Tigers team be behind like that and just fight their way back into it, even without their key player playing in Galvin.
Yeah, well, that's mate, and that's a standard, right? That Benji has set. he may not have the strongest list in the competition, but he's got a standards where, hey, boys, this is the expectation I have on you as coach. No matter the situation, I want you to compete.
Now, Raiders v. the Eel. Oh, no, this is not Raiders v. the Eels.
It's the Titans.
It's Titans v. the Raiders v. the Titans. I don't know why it says Eels here. That's all good. Foran named despite an ankle scare against the Cowboys. Jeez, isn't that concerning, the fact that he had to go off with an ankle injury? Isaac Lear returns from concussion. Chevy Stewart named to debut at fullback for the injured Rapana. Hosking returns for Mariota pushes Mariota to the bench. How do you see this one, Smithy?
Raiders too strong, mate. I'd love to be talking up the Titans. And, yeah, look, they had a little mini fight back on the weekend, but that was against 12 men. Probably the most promising footy we've seen them play across the entire season so far. But, yeah, look, I just think Raiders way too strong at home. I wonder, right, I just wonder, should there be a bit of a change-up with the Titans lineup? I'm talking around the halves. Like, should Brimson be put into either, 7 or 6? You take your pick. 6 is going to be his position, and then you decide whether it's Boyd or Foran that take up 7.
Yeah.